Great to see you. Thank you for sparing us the time. Can you try and put into words for us just how much of a boost it is for England?
It's a huge boost. He's an outstanding cricketer, an all-round cricketer. There aren't too many of those that get into the side with bat and ball, and it allows England to play a balanced side. Most importantly, it's great news for him. Of course, as you mentioned, he's been prioritising his mental well-being. He's been absent from cricket for 3 months. I think it's about July the 26th, the last time we saw him in action for the Northern Superchargers. He's had that broken left index finger as well, or fractured left index finger. He's got the all clear on that. So from a mental point of view and a physical point of view, it looks as though he's raring to go. And his statement was quite kind of to the point, wasn't it? I'm ready for Australia. So it sounds as though he means business. And I think the surprise is that he's going to be leaving with England right from the outset on November the 4th. Many of us thought that he might make an entrance somewhere in the Ashes. The surprise is that he's going to be going from the outset, so it's great news.
And Stokes, I mean, he filmed himself, didn't he, back in the nets, batting and bowling, fueling speculation of a return. Do you think this was always going to be the plan?
Well, when England announced their squad initially, Chris Silverwood was asked, is Ben Stokes going to play in the Ashes? And he didn't say no, but he just said, look, we're not going to pressure him. He can come back when he's ready. But then, as you say, within the next week, Ben had put out videos of him batting and bowling in the indoor school up at Durham. And the message was pretty clear, wasn't it, that he was readying himself for a return to action at some stage. The only thing we didn't know was when that was going to be, and it looks like it's going to be right from the outset, so he'll be available for the first test at the Gabba, which is December the 8th, rather than kind of coming in halfway through, when it would have been more difficult, because there'd have been a is he not coming, which was a little bit like what happened 4 years ago. If you remember, he missed the last Ashes tour, 2017-18, because of what happened, the events of the nightclub in Bristol. He missed that Ashes tour, and thankfully he'll play in this one, because he's not been to Australia since 2013-14, where he's just a young emerging player. So Australia haven't really seen the best of Stokes, although he got 100 on that tour in Perth.
And what do you think the Aussies are going to be making of it? I mean, do you think they would have planned for this?
I think so. Nathan Lyon the other day said that he hoped Ben Stokes would come. Not sure what you can say, really, as an Australian cricketer. You can hardly say we don't want him to come. And when I said Australia have not seen the best of him, what I meant was Australia fans in Australia have not seen the best of him. Of course, Australia, their cricketers, have seen the best of him, because in that 2019 Ashes series he scored that memorable innings at Headingley, a famous victory in a test match for England there. So Australia's players know absolutely what Ben Stokes can do. And I think when you go to Australia, it is a tough place to tour. Former England captain Mike Brearley famously said, you know, the sun is hard, the people are hard, the pitches are hard, the cricket's hard. It is a hard tour, and you need some players of character, some players who are not going to shy away when things get tough out there.
And he's the perfect man for when things do get tough. You mentioned the Headingley heroics. Do you think he's going to be able to replicate that? Because he is known as England's man for the big occasion.
Well, he'll do well to replicate that level of performance, because that was one of the great test match innings that an England batsman has played ever. Not saying it's the best, but it's one of, and therefore he'll do well to replicate that. And of course he hasn't played very much of late. He's been off, as I say, since July 26th, I think, was the last time we saw him play. So he might take a bit of time to get back into the swing of things. But I suspect the break will have done him good. What happens on the kind of international cricketing treadmill is that you just get on it as a player like Ben Stokes, who's an all-round cricketer. He's a multi-format cricketer, so he plays T20, 50 overs, tests. There is just no break for a cricketer like that, and when you add the kind of COVID complication with quarantines and bubbles, you can see why a player like him might need a break. He's had 3 months off. I suspect the break will do him a lot of good.
Yeah, he's obviously had, you know, quite some time off. Do you expect then to see him for that first test at the Gabba in Brisbane on December the 8th? What will that depend on?
Just depend on his fitness and his not his form, because they will have no cricket, but just his state of readiness. And the fact that he's going on the plane November the 4th they leave. So they've got a month effectively before that first test at the Gabba, which is December the 8th, just over a month. They're going to have that quarantine period, but they'll be able to train during that. And then England will have kind of intra-squad games. There's a group of Lions players who are going out. So it'll just be, from a bowling perspective, getting his body up to speed, because he's been out for so long. So the medics and the physios will just kind of give Chris Silverwood and Joe Root the green light in terms of his physical state of readiness. And as for his mental readiness, you know, that's a given, really. He's a player who clearly loves Ashes cricket and you know, high-octane contests like that. So he'll be raring to go, I'm sure.